Hello, I am Professor Kino, and welcome to my Office of Cinematic Antiquity. Today we will be continuing my series Second Look Celluloid, where I look at films that I believe were either overlooked or harshly judged at their time of release. Today's film is... Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Why is Cold War on the Second Look Celluloid list? It got nominated for 3 Oscars. Best Director, Best Foreign Language Film, and Best Cinematography. But here's the thing. It wasn't a widely known film, and it was nominated, and since it didn't actually win any of the awards it was nominated for, I doubt people are going to be going out to see it ASAP. So I fear that Cold War will probably end up being lost in the weeds a little bit. However, I saw a trailer for it a few months back and thought it looked interesting, and it finally arrived at a theater near me and I got to see it. So do I think it deserves to be lost in the weeds, or do I think it deserves more attention than it's been getting? Premise. After a Polish music director is forced to put together a performance of rural Polish musicians to promote the communist way of life, he ends up falling in love with one of his singers. While they have similar aspirations about escaping the confines of their lives, they both end up making individual decisions that complicate their relationship. Writing. This film feels like a long-lost classic, although it is a bit difficult to fully place what time period it belongs in. It feels a lot like Casablanca, A Face in the Crowd, or a film of that era, but also a lot like a Tarkovsky film. It is slow and yet engaging, featuring a lot of long conversations, but also a lot of quiet moments. However, this type of slow scene-to-scene storytelling is combined with a handful of time jumps. While the beginning half of the film is focused entirely on introducing us to our main characters, Victor and Zula, and the beginning of their romance, the film cuts around during their relationship's latter years, and after the hour-and-a-half film wraps up, it has passed through about 2 decades worth of time. Consequently, we are never really able to focus in on each character's lives in and of themselves, only on their relationship with each other and the time that they spend with each other. Due to this, the film can sometimes feel like it's missing something. But the love between Victor and Zula is the focus of this film. It is a love story after all, and on that front it is an effective one. It's not a lovey-dovey rom-com, but more of a realistic romance that revolves around the challenges of forming and maintaining a relationship in the tight-bordered Cold War world. And as an audience, we are able to see the development of the relationship as a whole as the movie goes from start to finish, from its forbidden origins to its complications to its nice but bittersweet conclusion. It was unique and engaging enough. However, because the film focuses solely on the romance, there are a lot of empty holes regarding each character's individual lives. We hear stories about their past, stories about events that happened during their times apart, and can usually gauge things based on context, dialogue, and interactions. But sometimes this type of storytelling can come off a little exposition heavy. Think of a scene where in the one that preceded it, one of the characters was stuck in quite the predicament, but in this new scene, that character is out of the predicament, and another character says something along the lines of, "I'm so glad we knew so-and-so who was able to help you get out of your predicament." This didn't happen much, but in conjunction with having to fill in the time gaps in between scenes through context, it sometimes just felt like, why don't you just show us some of what happened? Consequently, at the end of the film, while the love story itself felt resolved, the whole film still felt incomplete, as if it were missing relevant scenes. So overall, it is an effective and unique love story during the Eastern European Cold War that is encased in a tale that we are, unfortunately, only able to see snippets of. But I suppose wanting more of a film isn't too harsh a criticism, especially when the focus of the film, i.e. the love story, is done well, and what is not shown is able to be filled in through context and dialogue. I just think that this film could have benefited from maybe an additional 15 or 20 minutes. Acting. The 2 actors that are the soul of this film are Tomasz Kot as Victor, the music director, and Johanna Kulig as Zula, the singer that Victor falls in love with, and both are great in that classic actor way. Their delivery feels very much like the style of Humphrey Bogart or Ingrid Bergman. A little stoic, never overdone, but showcasing all the emotions that are needed to effectively elevate every scene. The acting is well done, and because of the style of the acting, it helps to place the film into the time frame it takes place in, i.e. the 1940s to the 1960s. Costumes, hair, and makeup. Everyone looks like they belong in the various decades that this film takes place in. Think of a classic film from the 1940s, 50s, or 60s, and you can visualize this film. Rags and cheap clothes for the people in poverty, with nicer suits and dresses for those who are more well off. Not flashy, but the costumes, hair, and makeup do a great job at visualizing the period that the film takes place in nicely. Set design. The sets of the first half of this film capture the post-World War II Poland look. Ruins, rubble, poverty, a country ravaged by war. And what emphasizes this is the fact that all of the people in the sets look somber and defeated. It's a great encapsulation of what Europe looks like soon after World War II. This is also true about the film's excellent portrayal of East Berlin. However, this is all juxtaposed by the look of Paris in the second half of the film, which is shown to be more carefree and complete. So the film does a great job at showcasing the post-World War II difference between the communist and capitalist countries in terms of their wealth, government, and cities as a whole. It's all put together nicely. Choreography. There are some excellent dance numbers here during the musical performances and in various clubs. As for the former, the dances are that of Polish rural folk music. I have seen dances like this live myself, and the film captures them wondrously. And as for the dances in clubs, they are busy, fun, energetic, and just like with the folk dances, crafted wonderfully. Cinematography. This film looks gorgeous and definitely deserved its cinematography Oscar nomination. What's immediately noticeable is the film's aspect ratio. Cold War does not use today's industry standard, and instead uses a smaller one more reminiscent of older films. This helps to make the film feel out of time, like it was a lost film from the 1950s or 60s that has finally been released today. Additionally, the film's second most noticeable feature is that it's all in black and white, and this in conjunction with its aspect ratio really helps to set the film into the time period that it takes place in. Then, regarding the scene-to-scene cinematography, there are a lot of times that the film's framing looks like a painting or a still photograph. The placement of the actors, the set pieces, and the props are just captivating. There's one shot near the beginning, for instance, that is still in my mind. It was of a snowy landscape littered with trees and two ruins, one being of a gorgeous church. When I saw it, I literally felt myself go, whoa. It was beautiful. And on top of this, there was also a lot of camera work that is unique, particularly in today's world of quick edits and basic framing. For instance, there were quite a few times where the actors were framed to be in the middle or bottom of the screen, leaving the top third or half of it either empty or for other subjects such as crowds. It was different and definitely not conventional, but really worked here. The whole film was just a visual cinematographic masterpiece. Editing. The editing here was very slow and classic feeling. Instead of cutting around all the time, the film relishes in long takes. While there are conversations that cut back and forth between its subjects, there are plenty that are filmed in one or almost one single shot with pans. One of my favorite examples of this was during a musical number. The camera starts on a band and then slowly spins around to show off other musicians, then Zula singing and Victor playing the piano, and then finally spinning around Zula herself. It was mesmerizing, beautiful, and amazing. Music. There is a nice mix of musical numbers here, from Polish folk music to communist propaganda songs to slow jazz pieces to 1960s pop music. It's a nice mix, and all the tracks are fascinating, if not gorgeous.
Dwa serduszka, cztery oczy, ojojoj, co płakały we dnie w nocy, ojojoj.
Direction. Polish filmmaker Paweł Pawlikowski directed the heck out of this film. While I still do wish that it had maybe an extra 20 minutes to help fill out the plot a little more, I can't deny this film's visual beauty and ability to tell an effective, beautiful, and engaging love story. From its top-notch cinematography to its mesmerizing music to its old-timey feel and aspect ratio, black and white coloring, acting style, and time period, this is just a beautiful film that I think deserves more attention than it got. However, I also think that its style might be difficult for the average moviegoer to get behind and stick through. It is slow and foreign and black and white, three characteristics that don't usually warrant a big modern-day audience. And I do think that's unfortunate because Cold War is the beautiful love story that I think a lot of people would be able to appreciate if it were on their respective radars. My enjoyment. I liked this film. It felt like I was sitting through an old classic, one that my dad might have shown me when I was younger, and that feeling of watching something older but still impactful was wonderful. A lot of the time I found myself drawn to the screen, whether it be through the film's mesmerizing music, amazing cinematography, or beautiful production design. While I did sometimes feel the film's slow pace drag a little here and there, and I wish that it padded out some of its missing time a little better, I am glad I saw this one. It's probably one of the better and definitely most unique love stories I have seen in a while. Recommendations. This is a solid film for a date night, especially if you're both into older films. It is oftentimes sweet, romantic, mesmerizing, and beautiful all at the same time. I also recommend this film to anyone who likes period pieces and anyone who likes classic cinema, because this is an excellent modern example of both. However, this is a slow film with no action and some gaps in its story. If that isn't your thing, then I doubt you'll enjoy this one. But for all those willing to jump into it, Cold War is a cinematographic masterpiece with a touching love story at its core that was deserving of its 3 Oscar nominations. Thanks for watching, I hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like. If you want to add anything, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to see more, please subscribe. I am Professor Kino, and I look forward to our next discussion.